Hey everybody, Peebs here, and welcome back to another video. Sometimes life kinda sucks and you need an escape from reality. Well, that's where video games come in. Specifically for the case of this video, life simulation video games. Life sims have been one of my favorite kinds of games to play ever since I was a kid, and I've done a bunch of videos on life sim games on this channel in the past. But I've never done a top 10 list of all my favorite life sim games, and that's what we're gonna do today. So if you enjoy this kind of video and wanna help me out, then go ahead and hit that like button, and without further ado, we'll get right into it.
Are you tired of your current dull life?
Yeah!
Do you want a new fantasy life?
Yeah!
Then get ready for your new life as a woodcutter!
Yeah! Wait, what?
Fantasy Life for the Nintendo 3DS. In Fantasy Life, you choose from one of 12 professions referred to as lives. Anything from typical fantasy classes like paladin or wizard to less combat-oriented lives like a cook or a fisherman. And you can switch between these lives pretty much whenever you want. It's a bit simple, but as you play, the challenge increases and there's tons of quests to unlock and expansive areas to explore. One of the things I love most about life sim games is completing little goals and working towards bigger ones, and Fantasy Life really scratches that itch. One fairly big complaint I have, though, is that there is a lot of dialogue. It can be funny at times, but it goes a bit overboard through some of, pretty much all of the game. It would be a lot more bearable for me, though, if there was portrait art for at least the main characters that you're talking to. Like Pam here. What exactly am I looking at?
Give me a visual reference, please.
But if you don't mind all that and it looks up your alley, consider giving it a try. Now, if you don't mind, I've got to get back to my life as an alchemist. I'm gonna make a bunch of medicine and build up my own pharmaceutical company so I can live out my dream of creating those weird medicine commercials you see on cable television. I used to constantly crap my pants. Ah! But now there's McTurdo. Side effects include explosively uncontrollable diarrhea and death. Before we move on to the next segment, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Skyforge for Switch. Skyforge is a sci-fi action MMORPG launching on Nintendo Switch February 4th. You play as an immortal being blessed with amazing powers, which you'll use to play through compact, combat-filled sessions perfectly suited to the Nintendo Switch. Handheld, tabletop, Joy-Cons, Pro Controller, however you prefer to play, you can. Personally, if I'm gonna be playing an MMO, I wanna be lying in bed nice and comfortable playing for hours on end instead of sleeping like a normal person. 3 classes are available to start, including my main man, the Paladin, but you can unlock up to 18 different classes, which you can instantly switch between. One of them is a freaking sci-fi rock god. How could you not want to try that out? If you purchase the Starter, Deluxe, or Ultimate Bundle on Nintendo eShop, you can start playing on Nintendo Switch as soon as February 2nd, which is 2 whole days before launch. You also get a bunch of free cosmetic goodies just for completing the tutorial before March 6th, so you're rewarded either way. Skyforge is free to play, so that means all future gameplay content updates are free, and you don't even need a Nintendo Switch online subscription. So check for the link in the description below for all the different Skyforge on Switch bundle options and get your head start locked and loaded. Thank you again to Skyforge for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you guys in the next segment. In the life sim genre, there's a lot of games where an old family member passes away peacefully in their sleep and you, in turn, inherit their farm. Then there's Medieval Dynasty, a game that starts off with your entire family being murdered before your eyes. But that's okay. We've run off to safety and now we're gonna start our life from scratch. Who needs these soft, casual life sim games where you start with a house? In Medieval Dynasty, you have to build your house from scratch. Stick, 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 rock, stick, rock. Ooh, mushroom. Stick, stick, chop, 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 house. And it only took me 24 hours, which in this game is actually 1/3 of a season because time passes very quickly. You will age and you will eventually die, which is why you need to find yourself a pretty lady so you can acquire the most valuable of all the life sim resources, baby. You could definitely argue that this is more of a survival game than a life sim game, and I wouldn't even really disagree with that, but for the purposes of this video, I'm willing to classify it as a life sim for a few different reasons. First of all, not only is there a lot of typical life sim stuff like farming, cooking, time passing, seasons, etc., the whole purpose of the game is to build not only your own home and family life, but eventually an entire community of people. In fact, when you die, whether that's by old age or by tripping on poisonous mushrooms in the forest, your dynasty will end if you don't have a child to take over for you. Dude, this is so sick! The next game I have on the list is admittedly weird. 99% of the game is completely normal, but every now and then it decides to hit you with something like this.
Would someone like a girl with big butts?
I have to go. So if you decide to play it, just keep that in mind. At number 8, I have Princess Maker 2. I've done a couple videos on the Princess Maker games, Princess Maker 2 and 3 to be specific, and I can safely say that Princess Maker 2 is the best. In short, Princess Maker 2 is a game where you live in a fantasy world and raise a heaven child from the age of 10 to the age of 18. You can either send her to different classes to learn skills or give her different jobs to make money. And depending on how well you balance these things, you'll get different endings, either good or bad. I like Princess Maker 2 in particular because of the mechanic that lets you explore a few different maps in a short RPG-like minigame. I mean, what young girl's life is complete without being sent out into the wild to hunt down giant muscle ladies, man-eating plants, and kidnappers? Yeah. I did mention this game was weird, right? I'd say she's gonna be scarred for life, but she's about to be slaughtered by the war god, so I wouldn't worry that much about it. If you can look past the occasional weird aspect of the game, the majority of the experience is really fun, and to boot, it's a lot different from any other life sim game on this list. And if you're interested in this franchise, I highly suggest you check out the videos I've done on it, as they're some of my personal favorites.
Do you know what happens to little girls who don't appreciate the family business?
Execute! Making my way downtown, walking fast cause I'm holding a dead human body.
Graveyard Keeper. Similar to a Harvest Moon style game, but instead of a wholesome, cute farm, you have a yard full of dead people. You would think that the whole concept of this game would be a bit uncouth, but the game has a nice sense of humor and doesn't take itself seriously at all. I've heard of people playing farming games and selling their animals, pretending to be a part of the meat industry. Pretty messed up, by the way. I'll never sell you, Medley. I'll just forget about you and let you die on accident. But in this game, selling meat is an actual feature. Except you're not selling beef, you're selling beef. Beef. So if you're tired of the typical farming life sim, then consider giving this farming death sim a try instead. Up next, I have Rune Factory Frontier. Rune Factory is the fantasy spin-off of the Harvest Moon series. Most of the Rune Factory games are good for being another standout, but my favorite has always been Frontier, the Wii version. Just like in Harvest Moon, you run a farm with crops and animals, but unlike Harvest Moon, you kill things. Well, according to the giant sky whale guy, you aren't actually killing the enemies, you're just sending them back to their original place. Yeah, I didn't kill this adorably pathetic creature, I just stabbed it over and over until it stopped breathing. Yeah, that's it. One reason I love Frontier is the large array of interesting characters. In particular, there's a lot of bachelorettes you can woo, a whopping 12 in total. There's a girl who's obsessed with hot springs.
You dug up a hot spring!
A girl that's obsessed with mail.
I have some mail for you.
A girl obsessed with books. And I mean, really obsessed.
I don't just like them. Books are my life. Books are a part of me. I love books!
And a girl obsessed with you! Seriously, why are you always here? Leave me alone!
It's kind of hard to sum this whole game up in one top 10 segment. I feel like it'd be better to do an entire video on. If that's something you'd want to see, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll do it one day. But in the meantime, I'll leave you with this.
Hey there. Hey there. Hey there. Hey there.
I absolutely love Harvest Moon. It's one of my all-time favorite game franchises, and I even met my wife through our mutual love of the series. So it kind of pains me to not have it at the top of the list, but I gotta be realistic here. It's kind of started to go downhill a little bit. Just a little bit.
This is supposed to be a positive video, so I'm not gonna go into that much detail, but the series hasn't been good for a while. And as much as I love games like A Wonderful Life, Magical Melody, and Animal Parade, all games I've done videos on in the past, I have to admit that the series peaked a long time ago, even before those entries.
Specifically in 1999 with Harvest Moon Back to Nature for the PlayStation 1.
My favorite version growing up was Friends of Mineral Town for the Game Boy Advance, and I'm pretty sure more people played that version, but that was a port of Back to Nature, which is the superior version. They're pretty similar, but Back to Nature has random features that the GBA version doesn't, and it even has more cutscenes and better holiday festivals. You get to drown in Back to Nature. Best version! Okay, just kidding. The real reason it's better is the Tomato Festival.
Any game where I can hit Potpourri in the face with something is A-okay in my book.
Seriously though, Potpourri sucks.
What? Who are you? Why does he talk to me so much?
She didn't even turn around to address me. I'm standing right here, Potpourri! God. You don't get to upgrade as many things or as often as in something like Stardew Valley, and there's no crafting or quests at all. But that feeling of working towards goal after goal and slowly making your farm more efficient and profitable over time is still very much there. It's just a little bit slower, a little bit more chill, and it takes a little bit longer to unlock most of the upgrades that you do have.
I'm up to my ears in bills.
Yeah, so am I, cause you charge $5,000 for a basket. Freaking cheapskate butthole. Up next, I have the most famous life sim series ever made, The Sims.
Now, it's no surprise that The Sims is on this list, but that begs the question, which of the main 4 series entries is the best? Well, get ready for a hot take here, all right? I don't think it really matters that much. With The Sims more so than any other series on the list, I don't really have that big of a preference.
I spent a lot of time playing The Sims 1 growing up, and maybe it's nostalgia, but I think it still holds up. Also, The Sims 1 music is the best, don't at me. I spent a lot of time with The Sims 3 and enjoyed that also, and I've even had a lot of fun with The Sims 4, despite the very lackluster launch and having to spend a fortune on all the different expansions and content packs.
But if I absolutely have to choose, I think I'm gonna go with the hipster option on this one and say The Sims 2. I could go over all the little details that make The Sims 2 stand out versus the other entries, but I think all you really need to know is, you can make a sim that looks like this. Enough said.
I take it back, this is the worst game I've ever played. There's lots of stuff you can do in The Sims, but my favorite is to roleplay. For example, I created my favorite TV character, Arthur. Except now he's a sad, depressed adult. And when he's in his underwear, he looks a little bit like E.T. This is more than a little bit upsetting to look at. So far, things are not going very well for our boy. Or man. Arthur, you're not gonna be a playground monitor. That just sounds disturbing. That sounds like a really sketchy job, dude. A really sketchy job. Oh God! Oh God, no, Mark, don't look behind you. Arthur, no! He's witnessing it. He's witnessing it firsthand. Arthur! He looks like a serial killer. What are you doing? Don't have a drink. You've had enough to drink, Arthur. Dude! Oh my God. He's gonna be wasted. He's like wasted, he's gonna fall asleep. Did you, Arthur, you just wet yourself? The toilet's right there. Oh my God. Arthur, you're late for work. You were supposed to be at work 2.5 hours ago. You stink, dude. You stink. If you want to see a full recap of this amazing story, just check out my video on the Peebs channel, also out today, link below and at the end of this video.
Oh no.
Just about every time I do one of these top 10 lists, I consult my followers on Twitter or just do a little bit of research on my own and try and find games that I've never played before. And one of those games this time around was a game I had never even heard of before, Spiritfarer.
And let me just go ahead and say this before I get any further. This game is so good. Like, holy crap, it's good. The basic gist is that you've become the new Spiritfarer, and it's your job to gather spirits onto your ship, bring them some peace, and usher them onto the afterlife. At first, I wasn't sure if this would even qualify as a life sim. It looks almost like a 2D platformer adventure game, and it kinda is. But the focus is much more on the typical life sim mechanics. You grow seeds, gather resources, craft things, cook, and you even get to know the NPC characters that inhabit the world by talking to them and giving them gifts. I wasn't really sure how satisfying the gameplay would be initially because the first couple nights were so simple, but it didn't take long at all before I had tons of goals and things to work towards. That sense of planning, anticipation, and satisfaction from completing said goals began to kick in very quickly. It has all the stuff I love in a good life sim game, and I felt genuinely excited to keep playing and experience more.
But it also has great characters and a really touching story on top of all of that. Sometimes too touching. It's downright depressing sometimes, actually.
1 minute I'm having an absolute blast, really enjoying myself, and then all of a sudden, the game slaps you in the face with some really depressing thing that's way too real. Oh God. Ah! Also, I'm sure you already noticed this on your own, but the game is beautiful. It's like playing through a frickin' 2D Ghibli movie. It's no surprise to see Animal Crossing on the list, but the question is, which version? Well, I spent a long time thinking about it, and...
GameCube!
Ah, that sweet, sweet nostalgia. Nothing can top the original version.
New Leaf!
Becoming the mayor and having more direct control over the way your town looked really added a lot of...
Wild World! Wild World!
Not only is the game portable, it also revamped the villager system and made them much more dynamic.
City Folk? This one?
I actually didn't play this one as much as the other ones, but it was good. It was good, right?
Alright, fine. The best Animal Crossing game is Animal Crossing New Horizons for the Switch, okay? Are you happy?
This is another game I've done a full video on, so if you want to hear me go into more detail, make sure you check that out. But in short, there are just way too many improvements in the most recent version for me to justify going with anything else. I don't have time to go over all of them, but even really obvious things like the visuals really stand out as being highly improved.
I know people love to say things like, graphics don't matter, it's only the gameplay. Wrong!
Let's be real, they definitely matter, especially with something like Animal Crossing. I mean, I'm gonna be looking at this for hundreds of hours of my life. I want it to look good. And even with life sim games in general. There's some life sim games I can't even get into because they're just so visually simplistic and bland. Don't even get me started on the newest Harvest Moon games. Sheesh. Part of the enjoyment of a life sim, especially one like Animal Crossing, is just soaking up the atmosphere. I mean, at least in part, it's a feel-good game, and you know what feels good? Watching the leaves sway in the breeze and seeing the light of the moon reflect on the snow at night. And this game just looks so good. But by far, the best addition to the game is being able to decorate and customize the outside of your town. That alone has added so much playtime for me, and I'm not even that good at it, really? My Twitch stream character, Pee-wee, is not the brightest cookie, but she tries her best, and that's what really counts. The newest idea I want to try is to add a graveyard. That way I can add a gravestone for every former villager. Rest in peace, Flo. She wasn't cute enough to live on the island of Costco, so I killed her. I mean, she died of natural causes. Yeah, that's what happened. With Animal Crossing, The Sims, and Harvest Moon out of the picture, what else could be number one other than Stardew Valley?
Apparently, I'm not the only one who thought Harvest Moon peaked at Back to Nature, because the developer of Stardew, Eric Baroni, also held that opinion. But instead of sitting around on his butt, hoping that eventually a new good Harvest Moon game would come out, like me, he decided to make his own better Harvest Moon game instead.
And it may have taken way longer than expected, but he did eventually finish, and I think it's safe to say he accomplished his goal. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, the best Harvest Moon game is now Stardew Valley.
It's crazy to me, and almost validating in a weird way, to see this once obscure farming social sim genre that I loved so much as a kid become as popular as it is today. Harvest Moon always had a loyal following, but it was still niche. Today, I swear freaking everybody plays Stardew Valley.
I love going on Twitch and seeing so many people I either know or am acquainted with playing it, and it's by far my favorite stream game to lurk. Mostly because I love seeing all the different ways that people play. If you want a more relaxed, chill farming experience, Stardew Valley has that. And if you want to go crazy gamer mode and min-max everything on your way to making $1 bajillion, you can do that too. Shout out to my friend Jeff's stream, by the way. He's an infinitely more hardcore Stardew player than I am. I've never even made close to this much money.
On a more personal note though, this game, and particularly the previously mentioned creator, Eric Baroni, is a big inspiration to me.
While I've never made anything remotely as special as Stardew Valley, and probably never will, I mean, Ghost Ride the Whip was pretty close, I guess. I relate a lot to some of his personal story of creating the game. He put so much of his life into this one project without realistically knowing how or if it would pay off in the end. He's even mentioned how working on the same thing for so long made it difficult for him to tell if it was even good or not. I'm constantly having that issue on a much smaller scale, of course, with the videos that I make. But I know for me, whenever I'm stressed out working on something, one of my favorite escapes is playing Stardew Valley. I freaking love this game. No, shoot, I forgot I have to actually edit this video. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye! Hold on, just one more fish though.
Bye!
Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like and check out some of my other videos. I made a playlist of every life sim video I've ever done, so you can check that out here. Or if you want to see the Peebs video that chronicles the entire adventures of Arthur in The Sims 2, then you can check out this video here.